The creation, the transferring, the atomic transfers, the burning, escrow, all that can be done without the need for a intermediary. So far, am I clear? Just a yes, no would help me. That's all clear so far? Awesome. Okay. Now, when we look at it today, okay, what is it that we can do with it? So one very good use case that I would recommend is under crypto assets, wrapped tokens, which means you are creating a crypto which is backed by some physical product or thing. So one of the projects that I'm very closely watching is something called Coffee Coin in Brazil. One of the largest coffee cooperatives there has created this coffee coin, and each coin is backed by 1 kg of coffee beans, which somebody is keeping in a warehouse. There is a third party custodian which is constantly giving proof that yes, certain amount of coffee is there, which backs the entire coin. Now you may wonder, why do we need a coffee coin? And I'll tell you the reason for it. So say coffee is grown in Brazil, then it is exported to another country, processed maybe there, sold in a third country. Now every time these transactions happen at a global level, you are constantly converting from one currency to another. So the Brazilian guy may want to get paid in the Brazilian currency, but he has to invoice in dollars. The dollar guy may then have to invoice in another currency. Now imagine if the entire chain from the coffee grower in Brazil down to a Starbucks in Pune, for example, if everybody agrees to use coffee coin, do you realize how much time and how much friction would actually get saved? That is why I'm very, very bullish on cryptos which are backed by agricultural products first. So coffee is one example which is happening in Brazil. And then in Argentina, they're doing it with soya and I think with wheat. I think those are amazing use cases. And we can do this not just by, on agricultural products. Paxos is doing it for gold. So sitting somewhere in the world, I can buy gold, buy a token in fractions on the blockchain very, very easily. But tomorrow, if I want, I can actually get the gold against it. Or because it is actually backed by gold, it's a very stable token that I have. So that is the use case around wrapped assets. Is that clear to everyone? Any questions on that? Quick yes, no would help me. Vivan, Keshav, anyone? Yeah, okay, clear. Then the second kind of use case definitely is going to be NFTs, right? I am not very bullish on digital art NFTs because they honestly don't make much sense to me. You may have created the world's most beautiful piece of art, but honestly, if owning that on an NFT doesn't really give me anything much, why would I want to pay for it? Why wouldn't I just want to download and use it as a screensaver, for example? Having said that, if your NFT of art is something which I can carry into the metaverse, that's a different story. So you look behind me. So I'm sitting in my home and in the wall behind me, there is a real wallpaper. I had to spend real money to buy it and get it put. Now suppose I tomorrow make a house in the metaverse. There, maybe on the walls, I will want a similar wallpaper. I will pay for it, but it can't be a JPG. It has to be an NFT which I can carry into the metaverse. So the metaverse supports NFTs or ERC 721 or other parameters and standards. That kind of a digital art would make sense if it is an in-game or in-metaverse asset. That is very important for us to remember. Should be backed valued by a physical asset? Yes, I quite agree with whoever's posted this question on LinkedIn. That if a crypto is backed by a real value asset, definitely that's a, maybe Vivan, if you can just enter the name of the person who asked, so I'll make a shout out to the name. Now you asked who approves things like coffee and can it be a legal use case? Sure. So for coffee and other things like in India, if you were to do this, SEBI is the right authority because commodities also comes under them and securities comes under them. So SEBI would be someone who would give you this approval. You could also try approaching the regulatory sandbox in Gandhinagar IFSC that we have in India. They may give you a permission to do this. And your question about why would someone use such a coffee coin? And the reason is very simple. Coffee is an international commodity. It's grown in one country, processed maybe in another, consumed in the third country. Today, in each country, we are going to convert between different currencies. All that causes a lot of cost and friction. But the entire ecosystem, if it starts to use a coffee coin, it becomes very, very cheap and reduces the friction. And as the creator of this coffee coin, you can always have a commission per transaction. Take an example of one of the world's most famous wrapped assets. Can anyone name it? Which is the most famous wrapped asset in the world? You may not call it wrapped asset, you may call it a stable coin, but yeah, USDT. Keshav, you're right. USDT, what is it? Tether is a company, I think based in Hong Kong. You give them money which goes into their bank account. Against it, they issue a token on the blockchain called USDT, and its value is around $1. And tomorrow, when you don't want the USDT and you want dollar back in your bank account, you can give them the USDT, they return the dollar to you. Extremely popular. Initially, nobody understood why you would need something like a stable coin. But then in the crypto market, there may be times that you feel there is too much volatility, you want to exit the market. So what do? You convert your money into USDT and keep it on the market and even get a rate of interest on it. 14% per annum you could earn on it. So the benefit is you save on the time and cost of converting your crypto into fiat, then coming back into crypto. So a stable coin solves that problem. And similarly, a wrapped asset backed by, say, coffee or soya, one is it gives you the ability to speculate on the price of coffee and soya and other agricultural products, which without this would be more difficult. I'm not saying you can't do it. There are crypto commodity exchanges, but the friction is much more. So one benefit is speculating on price. Second is reducing friction in the entire ecosystem of that particular commodity. I hope this part's clear. Okay, so now I had already talked to you about NFTs, and in NFTs, if it is something I can carry into a metaverse or into a game. So earlier when we used to play games and you win things in it, they are not worth anything in the real world. But today, a lot of games have started to give you NFTs of collectibles, clothes, weapons, cars, and other things. Sir, a little fast, can we go slower? Sure, I'll go slower, Arman. So, where to keep USDT for 14%? So, CoinDCX is one of the exchanges. Personally, I've used that, and they give about 14%. Different rates for different cryptos. USDT is pretty good in there. It sometimes goes even above this. Keshav said any exchange, so sure, Keshav, maybe you could mention other exchanges too. So NFT we have understood, in-game asset also we have understood. If in a game you win a particular weapon, you can then put that weapon and sell it to someone else. That's another very good use case. Another very good use case is regular fiat-backed stable coins, right? So if people listening to me want to start their own stable coin, that's one of the very good businesses, because you have stable coins right now, to the best of my knowledge, against very few currencies like US dollar, euro, yen, and I think Singapore dollar. How about Indian rupee? How about so many African currencies? There are hundreds of currencies in the world, and I think making stable coins against these can be a very good business idea. Of course, there will be legal challenges. You will need to spend a lot on that, but hey, it's going to be a massive business, right? Any questions? All clear? A quick yes, no would help. If you guys can just say, yeah, okay, awesome. The next thing that I want to talk about, and one of my favorite use cases, is DAO, Decentralized Autonomous Organization. It's the future of every company, right? So let's take an example. Today in a company, when I buy shares, right, do I actually get a right in every decision? No. What is it that I get a right in? Once a year, I can vote for the board of directors. After that, the board of directors do whatever they feel like. But in a DAO, every token holder has an element of decision making. So whenever things are being discussed, I can vote for or against something, right? So for me, a DAO is one of the best use cases. And I believe in the long run, every company in the world will become a DAO. In fact, in Wyoming, which is a state in the US, they've actually made it so easy that a DAO can automatically get recognized as a limited liability company. So even the legal part is taken care of. I think almost every startup today should consider incorporating or making itself a DAO. Let your token holders take part in all your decisions. So DAO for me is probably the #1 use case which we will probably be seeing in this year. NFT is very limited. Practical NFT cannot. Yes, I agree with you, Satya, that NFTs today, most of them are not really worth anything for the owner. You don't really get much of rights with it, right? IDC is an Indian stablecoin issued by Ahmedabad-based startup. That's interesting. I did not know about it. Tanuj, thanks for telling me that. Are there any well-established DAIs? Do you mean DAOs? Okay. Yes, there are so many DAOs. So give me a second. Let me just read out the names of some of the DAOs for you. But yes, there are a lot of very successful DAOs which are there. Just give me 1 second. In the meanwhile, if any of you are following certain DAOs, you can please just mention it there in the chat. Let me just read. Just give me 1 second. So as of right now, the most famous ones, at least the ones that I follow, Aave, Compound, Curve DAO, Dash, Decreed, Maker, SushiSwap, and Uniswap. These are the 8 that I closely follow. Other than that, also, of course, there are many, but these are the eight that I specifically follow. Yeah, someone's mentioned Uniswap. How about a startup entering blockchain for dating using NFT and metaverse? You'll have to explain, Lakshya, what do you mean by that? How would NFT and metaverse help in the dating? How do stablecoin makers like Tether make money? Good question, Kushal. So they get a commission on each transaction. And second and most important, the money which you give them, they don't pay you interest. So whatever interest they earn is totally their profit. You look at a bank. What is the bank's business model? It borrows money from us at a low rate of interest, lends it at a high rate of interest. But banks have to pay us interest. Tether does not pay anybody interest. So if you give Tether $1 billion, they earn interest on it and keep the entire interest for themselves. Secondly, they charge a small amount of transaction fee. So those are the two sources of income for anyone running a stablecoin. So that's the case. Okay. Bankless DAO, Curve DAO. Okay, these are some interesting ones. NFTs for photos and metaverse will be a dating place. Lakshya, I'm not sure what exactly. So maybe if you give me more ideas. But see, okay, metaverse is a good thing for meeting people. So today on a first date, especially if it's a blind date, you're going to go to a physical place. There is always that risk. What if the other person turns out to be a psycho? So in that scenario, if you meet in a metaverse, naturally it makes sense. But then the point is, what would be unique that you would do? Either you're going to make your own metaverse, or then you're going to use someone else's metaverse. I think starting your own metaverse is not a good idea because all the big players have raised billions to create metaverses. So instead of competing with them, maybe you could build value-added service for those metaverses. ONDC by Indian government. Tanuj, I'm not sure what you mean by ONDC. You'll have to specify. Okay. Another very interesting use case that I find is collectibles. So did any of you collect postage stamps when you were kids? Is that still something you guys do nowadays, or it was only when I was a kid? Could someone mention a yes, no? If you guys, okay, great, some of you do that. Now, in the good old days, Vivan says a little before my time. Come on, Vivan, it's not been that long here. You're making me feel it was the age of the dinosaurs. Okay, so at my time, when we collected postage stamps, today what has happened is certain governments, they are giving you an NFT along with it. So in the postage stamp, there may be a small NFC chip, or there may be a small QR code which you can scan, and immediately that shows you the digital version of your postage stamp. I think Austria was the first, Switzerland is doing, now Dubai is planning to do, Gibraltar is planning to do. I think that's a lovely use case. Any collectible which people are ready to pay for, that having an NFT version, I think would do very well. Let me give you an example. Many, many years ago, Mahatma Gandhi's specs were put on an auction. Okay, I bid for it. I had also applied for that. I think Vijay Mallya had won that auction and he bought Gandhiji's specs because, I mean, I'm a big fan of him. And I thought, imagine if I can buy Gandhiji's specs and wear it once in a while, I may actually feel like, you know, I'm talking to him or I'm part of his world. I had bid 1 lakh rupees for that many, many years ago. So collectors are ready to pay large amounts of money. So similarly, maybe in future, there will be digital collectibles, which may become popular, but it has to have something unique, something people want, which is why I like the postage stamp idea of digital collectibles. Any questions? All clear? A quick yes, no, please. Clear. Another use case that I find which makes sense is DeFi or decentralized finance, right? So yeah, Lakshya mentions NFT for wine and watches could make sense. Maybe NFTs for physical paintings where you put a QR code, anyone scans it, they are immediately taken to the NFT version of your painting. I think that's a good use case. Another one that I want to talk to you about is DeFi, which is decentralized finance, right? In fact, today we are doing our weekly quiz, which is at 5:30. Today's topic is DeFi. So it's a slightly advanced level quiz, but I want all of you to take part. There's also prizes to win. So don't forget to take part at 5:30. So DeFi is an umbrella term for financial services provided on a public blockchain. Very good use cases exist in that. For example, insurance related, staking, lending. There are about 20-25 types or categories of different DeFi protocols and solutions which are there. And that's an amazing use case because that is what blockchain is built for. So do have a look at a site called defilama.com. Let me just quickly put the URL here. Right. Since we are talking about DeFi, here. I put the link, so maybe you guys can. Okay, and Team Creta has put a link to our quiz, which is at 5:30. So I hope to see you guys there. If you open up this site, DeFi Llama, and on the left there is a thing called categories, an option. Right? There are about 26 types of DeFi categories or protocols which they have mentioned, from decentralized exchanges to lending, bridges, yields, so many of them. So that I feel is an excellent use case. You guys must look at that. Any questions? All clear? I'll give you guys a few seconds. If anyone has a question, just put it. Okay, all clear. Great. Another use case is what I call as XX to earn. So learn to earn, play to earn, all sorts of options are nowadays coming up. There is also something called move to earn. So when you start jogging or running or walking, based on how much you're walking, you get some free tokens. Amazing idea. So I'm going to be starting my own play to earn, where every time you do a free course with me, you get some tokens. So instead of paying to learn, you actually get paid to learn. So like that, I think a lot of these would do pretty well. Yes, you are someone, Vishesh has mentioned GMT, the green metaverse token. Yeah, I think that's the one that pays you when you walk. So they have an app, you put it on, and depending upon how much you walk, they give you tokens. Like I think in Mercedes-Benz cars also now you have this facility. If you are driving well, they give you some tokens. And if you're driving badly, those tokens are deducted. And you can use those tokens for, say, servicing, buying spare parts, those kind of things. Some car companies are also experimenting with that. So this category of play to earn, learn to earn, move to earn, amazing idea. And I would say whatever is your startup or your company, you should consider if you can bring this element of tokens into that, where give your customers or partners free tokens when they do certain things, when they write about your brand, when they drive well, when they exercise, whatever fits with your brand image. I think that is one of the best use cases. So Ranjit and Raghav have mentioned some other tokens. I'm not aware of them. I'm presuming these are all those to earn kind of tokens. So great, you could have a look at some of them. That's an interesting one. Then of course there is a use case called Web3. If I be very honest with you, Web3 is just a buzzword, right? It's like, what is the meaning of Web3? We are talking about a world where all web content would become decentralized. I don't think it's really ever going to happen like that, because if you think very logically, who's going to pay for it, right? So right now, if I use YouTube and I upload 1 GB of a video, I'm not paying for that. YouTube is storing it for free. Tomorrow, if that data has to be stored in a decentralized fashion, who will pay for it? So Kumar says that the community will pay for it. Now I have a question here, Kumar. Be honest and tell me. Tomorrow, every time that you have to upload a video to a platform like maybe the new YouTube, are you ready to pay to upload your videos? Are your viewers going to be ready to pay every time they watch your video? What do you guys think? Can someone give me some answers here? I want a yes if you are ready to pay for your own video to be hosted and ready to pay to listen to everyone else's video. Yeah, so no one will pay. Okay, Lakshya says yes. Parikshit Kumar says no. Someone says no one will pay, especially in India. Okay, I wouldn't want to go specific. Different countries may think differently. But the way I look at it, not too many people will pay. So if people don't pay, please don't expect all the content to go on to a decentralized fashion. Now here I want to give you an example. Because I also want to tell you that what is a bad blockchain use case, and any use case where you want to put data on the blockchain is a bad use case. In my life, I have never seen a data use case succeeding. It always fails, right? Because the blockchains are not made to handle data. Just think about it. A blockchain node replicates all data. Say a blockchain has 1000 nodes. Every time you put a file on one node, it is going to go to all the nodes. How is that going to make sense? It will burden the blockchain, slow everything down, kill everyone on the cost of storage. So no, it doesn't work. Now I want to give you one example to prove my point. A lot of people will say, what about Filecoin? So are you aware of the Filecoin project? Yes, no? So I'll know how much deeper to go in. It's called Filecoin. Okay, all of you know about it. Great. So I'll give you a very brief overview. So what Filecoin is, it is the incentive layer of IPFS, which is Interplanetary File System. Consider it like Airbnb. You know what Airbnb is. Suppose you have an extra room in your house. For 3 days, you can rent it out. One day, you can rent it out. Same thing you can do with Filecoin, that if you have excess space, storage space, you can rent it out for short periods using Filecoin. But what I want you all to understand, Filecoin doesn't store the data. The data is stored on IPFS or other people's hard disks. Filecoin manages the payment of this storage. So it's the incentive layer for IPFS. But please remember, data is not stored on Filecoin, data is stored on IPFS. Similarly, there are other projects, like one very good project I want you guys to look at is called SIA Coin, or the SIA network, where they encrypt all the data, divided into 30 parts, such that at any given point of time, only 20 parts are needed to reconstruct the data. So even if 10 nodes go down, doesn't matter. Your data is distributed and stored around the world, and you pay a small amount of money for it, right? So what I would say is, there, SIA coin runs on a blockchain, but the data is not stored on the blockchain. So if you are looking at any blockchain use case which requires data stored on the chain, I'm totally against it. I don't think it will work. Data should be stored off chain. There can be things connecting it to the blockchain, hashes, maybe storing some relationship, but never try to store data on the blockchain. So even in NFT, if you realize what happens is that the data of the NFT, which could be a high resolution image, is somewhere else. The actual NFT, which is the token, is on a blockchain. So that's how it works. Ronit's question, how many nodes or validators are present in IPFS? I don't know the answer. I'll check it up. Theta is in streaming. No. So what really happens is, Theta network from the blockchain perspective has two cryptos, T-Fuel and Theta. But they're not storing data per se. So in fact, there are other ones, one of them which does for transcoding videos. There's a platform for that also. Again, the blockchain there is used as the incentive layers. ICP is very hyped. It is actually a very useful project. Okay, I'll definitely research more about it. Because of the value fall right in the beginning, I didn't take ICP seriously. But Vishesh says it's a good one, so definitely I could try having a look at it. So I hope you've understood good and bad blockchain use cases. Now, do you have use cases in mind? You can just type it below and I'll try to tell you whether it makes sense or doesn't make sense. So if any of you are thinking about any blockchain use case, please feel free to share it with us. Just put it in the question. You don't have to give too much detail. You can just put a little bit of detail and I'll tell you whether it makes sense. Is there a platform which takes NFT as collateral? Yes, there are multiple. I don't think they're successful because I believe most NFTs today are overhyped and no one will lend you money against it. But yes, there are platforms which claim to give you loans against the collateral of an NFT. Thoughts on which is a decentralized taxi? Oh, I don't know about that. Kushal, I'll have to read up on that. Interesting. Running a loyalty-based program using the blockchain. Yeah, who's that come from? Raghav. Yeah, that's a very good use case. Because what is a loyalty program? Loyalty points are assets. When you run them in a private database, then only certain limited companies can be part of it. So let's say I buy coffee from one place. They give me loyalty points. Can I go and buy pens against that? No. Because it's only a few companies which have come together to run the loyalty program. But if you start putting your loyalty program on a blockchain, the customer who gets the loyalty point will be able to exchange with other people. So suppose you give me coffee points. I want to buy a pen and somebody else has pen points and you have coffee points, we can exchange them. So running loyalty programs on a blockchain is a very good idea. There is one project which I'm aware which does that. It's called Loyal, Loyall. So they started with that. I don't know how they're doing now, but definitely I like that use case. So that was, one second, a lot of questions have happened. Okay, please don't post any questions. Let me first try to answer the ones that are already here. Okay, so loyalty program, Raghav, I've answered. Newbie at the crypto blockchain service, skills in marketing and design. Okay, so for the career, I'll have a separate session with you guys. I promise I'll do that very, very soon. Creator team, if you could please make a note of that. We'll announce a session on career opportunities in the field. Started by an Indian currently in UAE. Okay, Kushal, that's interesting. I've not heard about the project. I'll read up more about it definitely. What is the tokenized economy? Yeah, so what we basically mean by that is people are tokenizing all sorts of things, right? So some people are tokenizing human attention, like the BAT project. I'm trying to tokenize human innovation. So like this token economy is the term for any business which is trying to tokenize something, whether it's a physical product or it's a virtual product like intellectual property and all that. That's what we mean by the token economy. Then for DIDS, where over, okay, questions gone up somewhere. Let me come to assets used in metaverse or images is basically stored on IPFS. That's right, Tanuj. Now my question is, what will happen if I do not play the game for approximately 30 years? The possibility of losing? Yes, it's high. So that's a very good question. Now there are some storage platforms where you pay fees once and the data is stored forever. So I would recommend that instead of using IPFS, you use those platforms. I am offhand just not remembering the name, but there is a platform which does that. Pay once, data is stored forever. So that's a better way of storing your NFTs. Can blockchain be used in systems like GST and IT to help country to stop tax evasion? Good question, and that is happening in India. When central bank digital currency comes in, and our finance minister has already announced in this year's budget session that by next year, Reserve Bank of India will issue the Indian rupee in electronic form through central bank digital currency. Once that happens, slowly, all the other systems like GST and all will get linked to it. And yes, I believe that can stop not just tax evasion, almost all kinds of financial crimes can also be stopped. Any platform for funding and resources by a metaverse game? I'll have to look that up, Ranjit. I don't know offhand. How is human innovation tokenized? Edwin, that's a good question. That's exactly what we are trying to do here at the Hybrid Finance blockchain, where we are starting by helping creators. If you are an artist who creates physical art, author who writes books, a filmmaker or a musician, then your work is copyright protected. You can distribute part of those copyright licenses through our platform, so your fans can contribute to the development of that and they can own a part of the copyright and they will make money for decades. Copyright, for example, you can make money for 60 years after the death of the creator. So that is the span of a copyright. Just imagine, you know, that very famous Indian movie called Sholay. It was released in the 70s and even today people see it. Now imagine you had a part of the copyright of Sholay. You would be making money for 50 years. So that's what is now happening, where we are tokenizing copyrights. Owner will control. See, Kumar, I'm not sure what you mean by DIDS. What exactly is that? So you have to specify what DIDS means. Decentralized identities. Okay. So again, decentralized identities, I'm not convinced of it being a use case, and I'll tell you the reason for it. What is the purpose of having an identity platform? So that people don't have to do KYC multiple times. But the point is, who is going to trust your data? In India or in any country where KYC is done, it is done by government regulated entities. Aadhaar is a document which the government gives you after verification. Banks do your KYC by looking at documents. So we trust those systems. If I'm a random startup and I say I have an identity data of 1 million people, question number one, why would I trust you? Government already has bigger databases. Why would I not just use them through API? Why does it need to be on a blockchain? So I don't see the logic in identity systems on the blockchain. I may be wrong, but honestly, it makes zero sense to me. I would rather use digital identity systems run by government or other agencies, and I would just use APIs to access. Why do I need a blockchain for this? What about the use cases of blockchain in supply chain? Very good question. But again, here the blockchain makes no sense because who's writing data to this? Only one company, which is maybe Everledger themselves. So why do they need a blockchain? Why don't they just maintain it in their own private database since anyway they are only pushing data? A blockchain makes sense when various people who don't trust each other pool in data and then other people can look at it. So unless your use case is like that, blockchain would not make sense to you. So I don't know, Pritesh, we'll have to do research about how Everledger is doing. It started years ago, but is it still making money? Is it profitable? That would give us an idea whether that's a good use case. Ravi says Gucci will start accepting payments in Bitcoin, ETH in the US. Amazing. That's a cryptocurrency, which is the #1 blockchain use case. That's what blockchain started off to do. Hashgraph will replace blockchain. No, I don't agree with you. See, blockchain has lots of competition. There are conventional databases. You can use those. Blockchain should be used only when smart asset lifecycle management comes. Their blockchain is #1. I have not found a better alternative to that. Renting EV charger point slots or other services which are open to market for general public to earn bread and butter. Yes, absolutely, very good use case. Because when you are renting these EV chargers, what is the blockchain doing? Taking care of that tokenization and the incentive layer, payment for the electricity. Exceptional, very good use case. Absolutely. Can we put all journals, conference papers? No, not really. It needs to be something which the copyright is with you. So when you publish in journals, you are actually handing over copyright to them. So if you look at the terms and conditions, so those will not come into the tokenization that I'm speaking about. And that's a good question, Raghav. Sorry, Kumar. Raghav, can you elaborate what is smart asset lifecycle? Yeah, sure. So on the blockchain, when we create an asset, the asset does not need any third party to do anything. As the holder of that asset, it is controlled by my private key. I can send it to someone else. That person controls with their private key. We don't need a third party like a bank. That is what we mean by smart asset. And life cycle is creation, transfer, atomic transfers, escrow, burning, reissue. All these things is what the blockchain does. Sunita, is it possible to issue flight tickets as NFTs? Good question, but why? So, if Sunita, you can tell me what you feel is the benefit. Then I'll tell you whether it makes sense for sports tickets because when we go for a sports thing, it's an event. We want to remember it. So sometimes we store physical tickets, right? So sports tickets, yes, as NFT can become a collectible. But flight ticket, I'm not sure. Would people want to collect their flight tickets? If yes, then it makes sense. Otherwise, no. But sports tickets, yes, it does. In supply chain, company has various departments, verify. Yeah, I agree. But you know what? When it is one company running the supply chain, blockchain is not a good technology for them. Their conventional private database, even if it's MySQL, Mongo, any of them, is much faster and cheaper than trying to use a blockchain for supply chain. I'm not convinced with blockchain for supply chain. I've not seen a successful use case. VeChain has been around for a long time, but I don't think it has that much traction. Kumar says, suppose I write a book or blog, new contents, can I put it on it? Yes, you can. Yes, Kumar, you can. Blockchain which stores data is not sustainable, but no. Again, Arweave does not store data on the blockchain, right? AR token is used for the payments and incentive. The data is not stored on the blockchain. Who is a certified digital asset advisor? Okay. I have not heard of the term before. So digital asset advisor, I don't know. Crypto advisor, there are lots of people. You don't really have a course available for that as of right now. But digital asset advisor maybe is the same thing. It just sounds fancier than crypto advisor. There are no courses that I'm aware of. How can we implement our great ideas in blockchain and metaverse if we don't have a team and money? Okay. I run a startup bootcamp for blockchain companies at the very early stage. If you're at idea stage or very early stage, you can take part. I'll give you a lot of advice on how you can do this, what you're saying. So the first cohort has started on 1st May. Second one will start in June. I'll let you guys know. Please apply for that. There is no fee, and I don't take any equity or anything. I will mentor you and give you ideas how, if your idea is good, how you can actually implement it without much of investing. Supply chain uses IoT. Yes, it does. But again, IoT does not need this. There's a project called Helium Network, which is for IoT devices. Have a look at that. It became unique if you collect our tickets and join them and make one single NFT. Sure, Ashish, that sounds interesting. Possible. Tokenizing time of users. Yeah, that's a good one. Deepak, have a look at the basic attention token, where in return for your attention of looking at certain ads and websites, you get paid in back. So that may be similar to what you have in mind. So Deepak, you could have a look at that. Why RBI is directly against crypto? So no, RBI is not really thinking that crypto can ever compete with the rupee, because I don't think that can happen. RBI is not really against it. RBI is worried about money laundering. They are worried about scams and frauds. And because crypto is very difficult to monitor, that is the reason they have an apprehension about this. But other than that, we can say that our country is reasonably open to it. We have a definition. We have taxes which have come into place. So it's a difficult thing, Let's see how things progress with the new taxation laws and all. Maybe by the end of this year, things would be a lot clearer. Yeah. So I think that's more or less the question that you guys have. People will not invest in bank, and that's why they are worried. I don't think so. But anyway, that's a tough question to answer. Do you think crypto will be regulated by SEBI as a security? All cryptos are not securities. Some are. So according to me, logically, even today, if your crypto is functioning like a security token, then you should go to SEBI to apply. If it is trying to do something like lending, you should try RBI. If you're doing an insurance use case, you should go to the insurance regulator. So yes, definitely it can come. As of right now in India, cryptos are defined as virtual digital assets. And they are defined under the Income Tax Act. And as of right now, the Income Tax Authority is kind of monitoring or regulating them. Yeah. Tokenization of alumni network development. Samit, that sounds like a very interesting use case. Could you tell me more? What exactly do you mean by that? Alumni network development. How would you do it? So you mean to say alumni would get some NFT issued by their schools or college? Because that sounds interesting to me. I'm very emotional about my school. I'm sure you guys also are. So in fact, why don't you guys tell me, if your school or college came out with some NFT, would you buy it as an alumni? I'll give my answer first, definitely. And some of you also enter yes, no. Okay. Anybody who thinks no? So I think, okay, that's a very good idea. So definitely that's a good use case to think about. Maybe we should all approach our old schools and colleges and talk to them about how they could issue an NFT. I would buy anything that my school tries to give me because of the memories attached. We spent so many years there, probably the best times of our life. So yeah, that's a very good use case. Even in corporates. Okay, again, can some of you say yes, no? Do you have that feeling for your company or former company that if they came out with an NFT, would you buy it? Could I have a yes, no? Okay. Some people say no. Definitely no. Okay. Some people say yes. So I think it all depends on how much you love your ex company or how much you love your school. See, school and college, I don't have a doubt. I think most of us really loved it. Company, maybe in some cases people love their companies and in some they don't. But that's an interesting use case to think about. About the link for the startup bootcamp, just go to my website, rohasnagpal.com. All the links are there. By the way, I put up a lot of quizzes on my website also. So please go and try them out completely free. Just go and try them out. So if you miss my Friday session, just go and look at the ones later. After we do the Friday session, I then put them up on my site. Solar assets, yes. Whoever's posted that from LinkedIn, definitely that's a good use case. So what really happens here is your house is generating solar energy, and then other places who want to buy and sell this energy can all connect to one blockchain for the incentive layer. So definitely that's a use case which started off in Netherlands many years ago. So we should check how it is going right now. Maybe it will do well in India also. How actually promoters make money in DeFi? All tokens have utility. So honestly, I don't really consider, I don't bring XRP into any discussion because that's a whole different project. But how people make money, it depends on project to project. So in many projects, the founders keep a large amount of tokens with themselves. Even in Ethereum, Vitalik and the team have a lot of ETH. So as the value of that goes up, that's usually how they make a lot of money. So in your project, maybe that's one way you could do it. I don't believe in that approach. So in my project, it's not like that at all. In the hybrid finance block, it's not like as founders, we get extra tokens, we get a very tiny amount. So it depends on project to project. Okay, awesome. It was a very nice session. So now what I'm going to recommend to you guys is come back at 5:30 for the quiz. And secondly, I'm going to be doing a lot more live streaming from next week onwards. So I want to do some programs around development. So I want to teach you guys how to set up blockchains, how to connect to them, how to do API related stuff. So for the developers, that's something I could do. For the other guys, I'll wait. Give me some suggestions and ideas. Connect to me on any of the platforms I'm on and give me ideas for what you want. I want to do a lot more live streaming from next week. Yeah. So give me ideas and I'll see you guys back at 5:30 for the quiz. Team creators also put up the link here. So I'll see you guys at 5:30. Bye-bye.